To the Evengaze Crochet YouTube channel. My name's Jodie. I'll be your host for today. You can find me as Evengaze on Ravelry and Instagram. I am from Wolverhampton in the UK, where I live with my fiance and my 3 beautiful fur babies who may or may not make an appearance in this podcast. Bobby and Boomer are both in the room, so if any dogs pop up behind me or there's a chain there. If any dogs pop up behind me or you hear any clip-clapping noises of their feet, they are wandering around. They've not quite settled down yet. So yeah, this is episode 3. I have a couple of finished objects and some works in progress to show you. It's been 2 weeks since I last podcasted. I think 2 weeks feels more manageable for me, and yeah, it feels more manageable to do 2 weekly podcasts, and it gives me a bit more time to get stuff done. So I think, although I did say weekly, I think it's probably now going to fall into a 2 weekly podcast. So yeah, I am wearing my Bruma, I think it's pronounced. I could be completely butchering it. Shawl. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. I made this with King Cole Curiosity. These are 2 of the grey cakes, and I think about here in this pale grey is where the purple one starts. It's about a 7-row repeat, so I did find myself constantly looking back at the pattern, but I do think it's really, really lovely, and I don't think the pattern calls for these picot edges. I think that's something I did when I made this. I was really enjoying putting picots on things. So yeah, really, really lovely shawl. Took a lot of concentration, which is what I needed at the time. Yeah, so that is my Bruma. This is probably my most worn shawl that I have. Yeah, I do have 2 finished objects. I thought I'd have more. I've had a bit of starting new projects and not working on them and frogging them within minutes. So yeah. My first finished object is this cute little owl. It is an amigurumi. The pattern is called Hedwig, but I can't remember who it's by. It did call for safety eyes, and I used black yarn instead, and I've done the beak slightly differently, I think, as well. Besides that, the only other changes I made was I used DK weight yarn, and I believe the pattern called for a different weight, but I just wanted to use some stash. It's not a brilliantly written pattern. There were a couple of typos, but it's a free pattern, so that didn't really bother me. But it does presume you've got some knowledge of amigurumi, so if you didn't know that it was worked in continuous rounds, it doesn't tell you that. It doesn't really give you much information on sewing together. You start at the head and then decrease, and then this is all one piece, and then you just sew on the wings, and it does have a tail. If I hold it that way, you can see, which is just done through working in different loops, which was very very fiddly to do. I don't think it would be brilliant for a beginner, which is I was going to try and teach someone how to make one of these, but I don't think it's a very beginner friendly pattern. But saying that, I did this in 2 hours, and that includes running around the house trying to find stuffing, and I did enjoy it. I lost my stitch count quite a few times, but I don't know whether I wasn't reading the instructions properly, or if they didn't add up, and I never went back through to check, and I didn't see anything about it on the project pages, so I am assuming it's something I've done wrong. So the back is a little bit bumpy in the wrong places, but I still think he's really cute, and I am going to make another one. What I'm thinking, if I move my head that way so it's not in the glare, what I'm thinking is I've got some sparkly white yarn that I showed you in the first episode that I was using for a granny square, and I've got 3 balls of that. I might hold all 3 together and make a bigger one. So that's what I'm thinking. So that is Hedwig, and I'll pop a link to my project page down below, and then that will link you to the pattern as well, and the notes that I made while I was making it. So my other finished object, I think I was working on these last week, and they are my Rum Paradise socks. So this pattern is the Mina Phillips, the Knitting Expat, is her vanilla sock pattern with, this is a Signet yarn, grey, I can never remember the name, I think it's grey tones, which I used for the heels, the cuff and the toe. And then this is Rum Paradise, it's a really lovely stripe and they match really well. I haven't worn them yet, but I've tried them on and they fit quite nicely. I am going to be making another pair with the yarn that's left for my sister. I just don't know when that's going to be, but they were really fun to work on. I think having the self-striping yarn, I got to the stage where I was just like, I'll just add one more stripe, which I really liked because it kept me engaged in the pattern. When I finish these, I put, this bag is from Bella something, I'll pop a link down below, but as soon as I cast these off, I cast on another sock, and I'm still on the first sock because I just haven't enjoyed working on them. Originally they were going to be a 3x1 sock, and it felt kind of like a chore, so now they are plain vanilla stockinette, with these increases. The increases are hidden in the stripes, not hidden, but the increases are in the stripes, so that when I go back, because I wasn't counting my rows, when I go back and do the next sock, I know that that's where the increases are. So I've used this grey, is a West Yorkshire spinner yarn, I believe it's called Poppy, and then this isn't coming up very, it's a navy yarn, like a navy blue, and then I've just put some stripes in. I was planning on using the whole ball. You can see I've quite a lot left though. So I was planning on using the whole ball and maybe doing knee-high socks. But because I'm not enjoying them, I don't think I'm going to. I need to try them on and find out how high up my legs they come. And then I think I can make a better decision. But I really just, I'm not enjoying working on these, and I don't know if it's because the yarn is very plain, or this yarn, even though everyone says West Yorkshire Spinners is quite rough, this yarn was really soft. So I don't know if it's because this yarn is that much scratchier, and that's what I'm not enjoying. But yeah, these are the Ravenclaw colours from Harry Potter, and I'm going to Harry Potter World in July. That's my deadline. I want to be able to wear these when we go to Harry Potter World. I just need to crack on a little bit. So I've done a German short row heel, which I've folded badly, which is why it looks wonky. I've gotten quite good at this now, there's no holes, so I think I'm maybe going to start looking for a new heel pattern. I can't get my head around the heel of that and gusset. So I'm thinking maybe something like the Fish Lips Kiss heel, or what's the other one I was thinking of trying? The New Depths heel. But yeah, I do want these finished, but they are definitely a product knit. You can hear my dog. And I'm just not enjoying them as much as I thought I would. So, but they are good for on transport. I will knit them on my way to work when I'm on the tram, if I can. Sometimes it's too busy. So yeah, I have a crochet work in progress. If you've been watching previously, this probably won't surprise you that I have been working on my granny stripe blanket. This is made with Northern Lights in the blue, purple, grey and pink colours. I've just started another section of the blue, and if I show you the yarn, you can see it's really crinkled. I'm literally just pulling it out of another blanket that I was making with this and putting it straight into here. So this Tyrian stitch marker, this is where I was last time. I think I just started the grey, so I have put 2 cakes on, and then I'm just starting the third now, and then when I finish the blue I'll go back to the pink. If it hadn't been warm, this is the only thing I would work on. Yeah, because it's been so warm, and this is now, I mean, this is the width of a double bed, so it's not the nicest having that weight on you when it's warm. If it hadn't been warm, this would be the only thing I'd worked on. I'd probably have a lot more done on it. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I think this is what I needed, something simple, something I didn't have to think about. I mean, you can see if you look at my edges, I've gone wrong in quite a few places, either where I've added or taken out stitches, or where I've gone into the wrong part of the chains. But I'm going to pop a border around the edge, I think, white or cream border, which will even it out a little bit. But I mean, it's going on my bed, so only me and my boyfriend are going to see it. It doesn't really matter if the edges are wonky. If it doesn't go on the bed, it might go on the sofa. We'll see how big it is. The only problem is then is when the dogs are playing, they don't tend to play on the bed as much as they do on the sofa. I don't like the idea of them getting their paws caught in the holes on granny squares. I'm always worried they're going to hurt themselves. But yes, that is my granny stripe blanket. It is an Attic 23 pattern, free pattern on Ravelry. I think Ravelry takes you to her blog, but it's, I mean, granny stripes, there's patterns are quite easy to find for this. The only thing with this pattern, and I think I've said this before, is whenever I've done grannies before, the granny stitch, I will do my 3 trebles, chain 1, 3 trebles. This one you don't, you just do your trebles, and then these gaps are from that space between. So you do end up with smaller gaps, which I think is better, but there's that. It's not so bad now. Obviously I've I'm just past halfway. Yeah, I'm just past halfway on this blanket, so I've gotten used to it now. But when I first started, I was constantly going to put chains in between my 3 trebles. So yeah, that is my granny stripe blanket. It's a bit cooler today than it has been, so I'm going to try and get some more work done on this, I think. Yeah, my next one is another knitted project. If I find the picture without showing you the pattern, because it is a paid for pattern. It's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, and I feel very unprepared because I feel like I should have got this ready already. But the cat has decided the pattern pages are hers and keeps throwing them on the floor, and then they get all out of order. So it is the Elephant Promenade pattern. There was a bus. Bobby loves buses and cars. He will stay at the window constantly watching buses and cars if we let him, which is why the curtains are closed a lot of the time, because it stops him from doing it. At one point we had the sofa there, and he would just sit at the window 24/7. You'd struggle to move him. Anyway, Elephant Promenade, this is the pattern. So there's 2 versions. There is a long sleeve version which has additional ease added in, and then there's the short sleeve version that you do with less ease. I am doing the long sleeve version. I hate doing sleeves, but I think I really like the way this looks, and I think I'm going to wear it more with long sleeves, because I'll pull the sleeves up when I'm if I don't like them. So I think this is going to be a better one, although this would be quicker. So I'm currently on the colour work. I've never knitted colour work before. I've done double knitting where you use 2 strands, but not actual colour work. And it's a little bit difficult to show you. So this is West Yorkshire yarns, and I can't think of the colourway names with the exception of this grey is Poppy. So that's the short row shaping for the neck, which I think I've done wrong, but I don't want to frog it. And then if it will show you, because the contrast isn't, there's not a great deal of contrast, and it's on needles that are too small. So this is the colour work so far. It's really not coming up. So I've done pink for the cuff, then this grey, and this colour work. I'm worried it's going to come off the needles. That's not coming up great. The contrast is easier to see in real life than it is coming up on the camera. You can see my holes where I've had to make one. Yeah, it's really, but this is like the pattern at the top before you get to the elephants. Where's that piece of? So I'm on this first bit is the bit I've just finished, and then I've got these small squares to do which aren't coming up very clearly, and then I'll be doing the elephants. And what I'm going to do when I go to the elephants is I'm going to go back to this pink colour. So most of the colour work is going to be in this quite subtle, I mean there is a bit of a contrast, it's just not great. So most of the colour work is going to be this blue and this pink, this grey, and then the actual elephants are going to be in this pink colour. I'm really excited, but like I said, I've never done colour work before. I've never knitted a complete garment before. I started to knit the Harvest cardigan by Tin Can Knits, and it's still, I haven't touched it in a long time, but that's Aran weight and this is 4-ply, and it's too hot really to work with Aran weight. So yeah, that is my elephant promenade. I'm really excited. I only started this Friday, and I think considering I have only been working on it a couple of days, I've done quite well. It's not going to be very good travel knitting because I do need to keep looking back at the charts, but I'm still enjoying it, and it's been really good. Just kind of sat at home knitting. That is in this bag from Primark. I think this was like £3 from Primark. They've opened a new one in Birmingham, and I finally went in. And I literally just bought slippers and the bag. I wasn't very impressed. But that is all of my finished objects and all of my works in progress. I haven't really had that much knitting and crochet time. Even my travel time has kind of not been great for the last 2 weeks. So yeah, that's all the knitty stuff, the crochet stuff. I am hoping to get some more progress done on this. I'm hoping to get the jumper past the colourway section, the colour work section, to the plain stockinette, because at that point I can use it for travel knitting and I can use it for cinema knitting. Those socks aren't really great for cinema knitting because of putting the stripes and the increases in. Yeah, I haven't been to the cinema again for the last 2 weeks. We just haven't had time. I do have a car now, which is going to make it easier to get to the cinema, but I'm still finding my feet a little bit with the car. So that, yeah, I'm still finding my feet a little bit. I did go for quite a long drive yesterday, but by the time we got home, my anxiety was through the roof, which I don't think is just down to the driving. I've had multiple panic attacks and stuff this week, just through various reasons, and yeah, which I have started watching Jessica Jones. The new season came out. We didn't even know it was coming out. Normally when Netflix release kind of the Marvel shows, there's a big kind of big push around them. Jessica Jones came out. I'd seen nothing. I knew they were filming them because the I knew they'd done some filming and stuff because things had been shared about that, but nothing about an actual release date or oh, this is out now. And we literally just, there was a day where it was constantly raining, so I think I put about a cake on this just in that one day. So we started watching Jessica Jones. We're only 2 episodes in. It's very slow going. I found the same thing with the last season. It's very slow going. But I'm hoping that it will get to a point where all of a sudden we just binge. Yeah, we're still watching Married with Children. We seem to be stuck on the same episode, and every time we put it on, we fall asleep, or one of us falls asleep. So I've not really made much progress on that. Working my way through. I've started watching Riverdale again, which I'm enjoying. I go through fits and starts with Riverdale where it's all where I'll watch masses at once, and then I won't touch it again for a really long time. But I am watching at the moment, and I am enjoying it. Although you kind of watch it thinking, have they forgotten that these are supposed to be kids that are still at school? And I think they're like, what, 17? I do think sometimes the writers forget that. I don't think I've watched much else. There's lots of stuff I'm meaning to watch and lots of stuff I've tried to watch. No, I've tried to watch. I've been although my insomnia has been bad, I'm falling asleep at the wrong times. I've started watching a program called Flinch, which is bizarre. I don't know if you can hear that. The dog's complaining because he's tired and he wants to sleep, and I'm talking too much. I've started watching a program called Flinch, which is basically you have 3 hosts torturing 8 people. There's like a machine that spins and puts the head of the water. It's really strange. Which I think is a Netflix original. I'm watching that at the moment. There are some funny moments, but it's literally just kind of noise for the most part. Yeah, I finished Outsider, which was a really good book. I was crying a bit at parts towards the end because I relate to the character of Holly a lot. And it's really nice to have a character like that. But then when there are just some bits that really get you. It's a very graphic book in places. Quite an unpleasant listen. So they arrest a man for murder. I'm not going to go into the details of the murder because it's not very nice. Even for Stephen King, it's not very nice. So they arrest a man for murder and find his DNA and camera footage of him in another state. I think it was another state or another city, even though there's DNA evidence and witness evidence putting him at the murder at every point. And it's them trying to work out who actually committed the murder and how there can be so many discrepancies. It's a very good book, but because I bought the book a really long time ago. I bought the book just after I finished the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, which is where the character of Holly Gibney originally came from. But I was waiting for it mainly for her, so I was listening to the book mainly for her, and that made it really slow kind of waiting game, if that makes sense. But once I kind of got more into the story rather than waiting, it was a really good listen. Yeah, I think I read somewhere he's doing another book around Holly Gibney, and I hope that's true because I really enjoy the character. I've just started listening to It, which I read 12 years ago, maybe longer. I was still at school. I was still living with my parents, so I mean that would have been a fair few years ago. And it's okay. the audiobook is not as good as actually reading the book, but I can crochet and listen to audiobooks where I can't. I know some people can, but I can't read and do something else. So yeah, I'm just started listening to that, which it's good, and I've bought Pet Sematary a couple of months ago, and I've listened to a little bit more of that, but I'm not enjoying Pet Sematary either. But that, I don't think that's the reading or anything like that. I think I'm genuinely not enjoying it. So yeah, that's kind of my TV and film, and books for the last 2 weeks. In terms of news, not really much has happened. I did get a car, as I said previously, which is really good. I have been driving as much as I can. It's just been difficult to find the time. Trying to build up my confidence so I can start driving to work. But driving to work, it still feels miles away. So yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you for watching and listening to me ramble, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.